11 Houston, you're good in 1 minute. Apollo 11, this is Houston. You are go for TLI, over. Apollo 11, thank you.
Welcome everyone to the third webinar of the day on opportunities for satellite operators. I'm privileged to be moderating a distinguished set of C-suite speakers, including Cenk Şen, CEO of TÜRKSAT. Hi, Cenk. Ali Al-Hashemi, CEO of Thuraya and General Manager of Yahsat Government Solutions. Hi, Mr. Al-Hashemi. Paolo Pusterla, Managing Director for Europe, Middle East and Africa at ABS. Welcome. Dr. Ilhami Aygün, President and CEO of MonacoSat. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, and Summer Halawi, Executive Vice President and Chief Commercial Officer of Intelsat. Hi, Summer. So, the current crisis has taken its toll on our industry, but at the same time, there are so many examples from satellite operators of how you are enabling essential connectivity globally at a time when people need it the most. So this is really a particularly interesting time to be having this conversation with you. And I really look forward to getting into the discussion. Cenk, I'm going to start straight with you. How does TÜRKSAT perceive the changing dynamics of the satellite market? How are you preparing your company to adapt to the changing pace of this industry at this time?
Okay. Hi, Aarti. How are you? Thank you very much for providing that opportunity to us, because the world is changing very fast, and we have been facing with unexpected events, and so we have to behave proactively to cover all of requirements of our the citizens. So that's why the dynamic nature of our market is because of the technology. So technology is changing very fast. So the people's requirements are also changing very fast. So if you can keep up with these kind of changes, then your sustainability can be ensured. Otherwise, you have a really big problem. And if you look at our market, in the recent times, the broadcast has really huge potential in our market, but nowadays it's leaving its chair, because the data is gaining, a huge amount of data is gaining, really important, not only in the broadcast domain, but also in the other domains. So especially after having the industry 4.0 revolution, the changing, the way of business doing business is changing very fast. That's why we have to abide by these kind of changes, and we have to be prepared for these kind of changes as a satellite industry. So after having Ka-band capabilities, I mean the ultra high throughput satellites, we started to keep up with that much amount of data. So nowadays the real problem of then, and we understood after having that pandemic, that the connectivity is an issue for us. No matter what we are doing, maybe you are in the the education sector, or maybe you are in the manufacturing sector, but the only most important thing is to having connectivity. So terrestrial infrastructure has some limitations because of the return of investment problem. So especially the satellite operators has some advantage to cover all of these requirements. So after having the ultra high bandwidth satellites, we start to give the huge amount of data to even to end users. So when I say the connectivity, especially we are trying to provide, especially as a satellite operators, we aim to provide connectivity not only in the land side but also in the aviation and the maritime. So we as a TÜRKSAT try to define our solutions in not in the landscape but also in the maritime and especially the aviation time, because when you get into the plane, you can't you want to have the connectivity no matter how or who provide that connectivity to you. So that's why nowadays the real problem is the service. The customer doesn't care who provides that, how you can provide, which technology is used to get that services. That just they need a seamless communication, especially by the entering the 5G period, the satellite's importance will be much higher. So especially digital divide will propose an opportunity to us. So if we can combine our capability, stereo guys capability, then which will be complementary to, I mean, the satellite capacity will be complementary to the terrestrial guys. I believe in that the companies will be more than ready to the new requirements. So we as a TÜRKSAT try to increase our capacity because the data, the produced amount of the data is increasing exponentially. That's why the carriage of that data will need some infrastructure from one point to the other point. So we are trying to, as a TÜRKSAT, increase our capacity with having two new, even three new satellites. So especially after having 5A and 5B, the 5A, Hassan most probably told you about that in the end of this year, and in the third period of the 2021, the 5B, and also 2020, the 6A, our coverage area and the coverage capacity will be much more higher. So we will be ready to provide capacity to the aviation, maritime solution, to even the government solution. Also, Internet of Things will propose a really good opportunity to us. And you know that technology in the satellite world is really changing so fast. And we are talking about the elastical payloads, electrical propulsions, and even the computing power in the satellite. So these kind of opportunity, these kind of technological improvements will propose unexpected opportunities to us. And also, the most important thing for us as a regional operators to come together to propose customized solution in order to cover, in order to propose a global services to the customers. So we are TÜRKSAT always open to any collaboration and cooperation with any other regional or global satellite operators to come together to propose or to prepare a customized solution to any kind of different requirements of our customers. So I'm not going to I don't want to take the other audience's time. So I think it is, as a summary, we are more than ready to for the new requirements of the satellite market.
Thank you, Cenk. It is a very exciting time for you with 3 new satellites on the way. So, I mean, I would love to carry on, but as you said, I'm going to go to each of our panelists and start with a question, and then I've got some general questions to get a more dynamic discussion going with you afterwards. So let me turn to Ali. Ali, last week Thuraya announced that you had signed a contract with Airbus to build Thuraya 4, being your next generation satellite system. How important is this for you, and how will this program transform Thuraya going forward? I think you're on mute, Ali.
Oh, sorry. So the investment came into three segments. The first segment is the space segment, which is renewing all our space segment, the T4, and we have an option to go for the T5, which is our Asian satellite, and also to invest in and upgrading our ground segment to become 4G capable, and also to invest in new solutions. So we are adopting the philosophy of Yahsat. As you are aware that Yahsat was to have a dual mission, military and commercial. And the military solutions are feeding the commercial, and the commercial solution also feeding the military. So today we are in Thuraya, and I can say that very proudly that we are the king of voice. Nobody can compete with us when it comes to the quality of voice services. So what we are doing, we are moving from voice services to become a data-centric solution. So how we are doing that? By building a class A type of applications, such as L-band slingshot radios, IP solutions, in-flight connectivity, marine solutions, assets tracking, and all of that will feed the commercial products. A lighter version will feed the commercial solutions, and a lighter solution will feed and cheaper and more adaptable to the commercial world. So simply in the future, you will see us capturing a bigger market share when it comes to the data segment. And it goes with the alignment with the world vision of how satellite should work in the future, especially in the L-band. Especially we are reaching the 1 megabit speed in the L-band, which is really very high compared to the previous solutions. So with that, you will see us as simply as that, capturing more market shares when it comes to L-band solutions.
Great. And I think you have a couple of slides that you wanted to share with us. So maybe you can just show us them briefly.
Of course.
I believe they're just being uploaded. Just a second. We've had some connectivity issues in the last session. I hope we don't run into them in this one.
I can go very fast about the main points on the slides without showing if you want, so we don't waste time. So
okay.
simply, Mubadala established, Mubadala, which is the investment arm of Abu Dhabi, was established in 2007. And with the partnership with the UAE Armed Forces in 2008, we built our first satellite, which is Aliyah 1 and Aliyah 2, which has dual mission, commercial and military. And through our deep understanding of the commercial world, we did our joint venture with the Hughes, because simply we have foot in the ground in the region. So we did the joint venture in Africa. And Hughes had the foot in the ground when it comes to businesses in Brazil. So we did the joint venture in Brazil. And for our next military mission, when we were gathering Aliyah 4 requirement, which is our fourth military satellite was supposed to be, we realized that most of our requirements are L-band. And this is where came the importance of L-band. So we went and we acquired Thuraya. And simply, Thuraya, within the last 20 years, they established themselves to be the first when it comes to the voice services. And as I told you that we're going to establish, move from voice to be a data-centric or data-focused solutions. And again, I'm focusing on these solutions very much because they will be very important part of our capacity and our capabilities in the future. These are the L-band link solution, assets tracking, IP solutions that goes higher than 1 megabits, in-flight connectivity, and search and rescue, and marine solutions. So again, we invested into 3 segments. We are investing heavily in this 3 segment, around $500 million in the T4 and an option to go for the T5, and upgrading our ground segment and upgrading our solutions. And this will give us a solid foundation to capture a new market share and to be a dual service capability focus, giving fixed, giving mobile, and voice and data. So we are very proud of that today. So this is in summary the 3 slides that I wanted to share with you.
That's great. That's great diversification that we see now with Yahsat and Thuraya having come together. Thank you, Ali. Thanks for that. We will come back to a discussion. I'd like to turn to Paolo at ABS. Paolo, satellites, of course, have always been associated with bridging the digital divide, but the current crisis has really shone a spotlight on that. Now, what does the digital divide in today's pandemic world mean for satellite in ABS's view? I think you have some slides that you wanted to show as well.
Yes, and I'm receiving now the call to share them. Let me see if I can manage that. Actually, no, doesn't matter anyway. Share screen. Yes, there you go. Start sharing.
I don't see them as yet.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay. We can do it. No.
We have them. If you could just click on the slide.
You do?
Yep, we see them. You just click on slideshow.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. All right. Well, I concentrated on the theme that you said to look at the digital divide and how the satellite industry can help bridge it, and how ABS is actually positioned to do so. Let me start with saying that of course the digital divide is synonymous of the infrastructural divide, and this is the evident dimension of it across the world. We see, unfortunately, delta that exists in the world between half of the world that has access and the other that doesn't. The access to smartphones and to laptops and to devices that allow to connectivity. We know the world is divided, unfortunately, in this map, and how the usage of internet is actually concentrated over specific regions. But what does a satellite do? As you say, satellite notoriously has been a bridge for such divide, and clearly the prime services that it offers to close this gap is actually carrying the internet over the areas that don't have efficient terrestrial capabilities, and that is typically the trunking services that are offered from big hubs with tier 1 access points into that ISP around the world. It does also offer access to those rural and remote areas where no other accessible mechanism would be available for users there, and of course provides important conduits to mobile operators for their services or broadband to their customers. But that, in essence, is what the historical role of a satellite is, and ABS does all of the above with a very global coverage, 6 satellites in orbit with C-band payload and E-band in specific coverages. We also couple that with a substantial terrestrial infrastructure that enables users and service providers in different regions. We have our own teleports as well as partner teleports that support our services and host our services at their premises. But my and of course, in general, the services that we provide are for government, NGOs, MNO, and the trunking that I mentioned earlier. But I think it should be looked at with different eyes after the pandemic. The digital divide is actually present only. It's only a gap between say lesser infrastructure developed countries and the more developed ones, but is actually a divide that goes that is present across the board. And there's been evidence of this exactly during this pandemic and the lockdowns. We've seen an incredible surge of traffic. In April 2020, Akamai quotes that there's been a growth of over 30% of the traffic in 1 month, and this without even the live sports video, which has led to an enormous clogging of the network. We've seen standard applications for users that have been normally accessing their regular, I would say, video conferencing, home banking, public administration services, now being able to do so, or have a very extremely malfunctioning. And we've seen an enormous surge in cybercrime with data breach, breach of confidentiality, and so forth, with an increase that has been quoted at 350%. Year to year. This has led to teleworkers to be excluded, school students not to be able to attend classes. Apparently one of the key elements has been also the gaming online and the video that has been really clogging the networks. But the bottom line is that the digital divide across the various continents is probably better represented by a digital service ladder, because we have, of course, a no infrastructure situation, a ground zero, if you wish, but you have a lot of flavors of services across over step by step on this ladder, and each, I would say, determine still a divide among users across the different continents. How can we really bridge this digital divide that has become so apparent? I think the satellite industry, as in general, has a tremendous opportunity to do so because of the specificity and the features that the satellite has, the flexibility that it can provide, and the ability, example, to I would say offer services coupling unicast with broadcast. But I think one of the key points is that it has to integrate with the terrestrial infrastructure. It does not have to position itself as an alternative or just a solution that is somewhat self-contained, but rather as a piece of a larger picture that offer connectivity to the consumer around the world. I'm having problems here. Oh, here we go. So in essence, and I don't want to take up too much time here, but we are doing that. We are offering increasingly services not only in the lesser developed areas, but also in different geographies, notably in the security part, but also offering flexible bandwidth arrangements for service providers. And to go along the theme that you mentioned also earlier, the 5G, the advances that the telecommunication world is bringing, I think the satellite industry again even more than in the past has to be part of this global telecommunication infrastructure and seamlessly be a component of this wider service offering.
Thank you, Paolo. Paolo, you've covered a lot of issues there. We're going to come back to some of them, including integration with terrestrial technologies and so on. Thank you very much. I would like to move to MonacoSat and Ilhami Bey. Can you tell us something about SSI MonacoSat and its activities? I know that you have a new software-defined satellite, MonacoSat 2, planned with on-orbit configurable technology. Tell us something about it.
Oh, thank you, Aarti. But first, I want to congratulate you. From the beginning of the day, you were always very well managing the new type of conferences, especially this type of webinar. And I think it's all good for everybody. I mean, without traveling and losing time on the travel, we can communicate and give our even ideas and communicate with the friends. So thank you again. Aarti, I think not to have technical problems, I send my short presentation. Perfect. Thank you very much. So the first page, okay. So the second page. Since we are in Monaco, only today one satellite, small young satellite operator, I just want to give some information about our activities, so who we are. So after my experiences on TÜRKSAT, Yahsat, and some other satellite operation, we have created a satellite operator company in Monaco in 2004, and it's called SSI, Space Systems International Monaco. And in 2010, we start to develop an orbital position with Monaco government at 52 degrees east. And in 2015, we have launched our first satellites, which is called MonacoSat 1. And with the cooperation, I will just mention, with the Central Asian country, Turkmenistan. And after those successes, the Monaco government would like to develop, of course, this space activities from Monaco. And we have created a subsidiary, which is called MonacoSat, MonacoSat Société Anonyme Monégasque. And today, with the Monaco government, we are a partner in this MonacoSat company. And this MonacoSat, under the SSI and together with the Monaco government, will do all the new satellite investments, including MonacoSat 2. So we are, of course, in a small country like tiny Monaco, we are also acting as Monaco Space Agency time to time, which by having some guidelines from ESOA and even the Turkish Space Agency, also formally we would like to create a Monaco Space Agency in the near future, maybe next year. And of course, when you start this type of satellite and the satellite operation, you need from Monaco also to put some TV generations and to create the TV. So just to show as a Monaco central of the yachting, we created a super yacht TV, and some other channels are coming from Monaco using our satellite and some cable systems. On top of this fixed satellite services, there was a project in Monaco which is called Monaco Exploration, where the Prince Albert wanted to have in the worldwide exploration of the maritime. So at that time, we became a partner with the Inmarsat, and we just provide Inmarsat solutions to the yacht and these exploration systems. Very recently, with Axiom, who will do I will just go to some details, who will do the new or the extension of the space station, International Space Station. We just became a partner with them. I will just give some more information on that subject. So this is what we are doing in Monaco, from Monaco. Next, please. So as I just mentioned, our first satellite, MonacoSat 1, manufactured by Thales Alenia Space. We have launched this satellite by using the SpaceX from Cape Canaveral on the 2015, April 2015. It was very successful and still in orbit and working well. Two-thirds of this capacity was bought by Turkmenistan country for their internal and regional use. So that's why that capacity is called also Turkmenalem, 52 degrees east. So the satellite is also a kind of two names, Turkmenalem and MonacoSat. So this satellite, next please. So it's covering, it's in full Ku band. It's covering with three beams. One beam is Europe, Central Asia, and Russia, this blue one. This is BSS, and we have the FSS-1 Central Asia to Europe connection, and also MENA beam on the red one, covering the MENA. So it covers a good region with a high power. And once we start these operations, next slide, please. We have a very good neighbor. One of them is in our webinar today, is Yahsat. We are at 52 degrees east, and Yahsat is at, or Al-Yah 1A, is 52.5 degrees east. We are almost co-located, and both of us have a link to the SES, and both satellites are in the SES fleet. So our MonacoSat 1 satellite is in SES fleet today with our MonacoSat capacity. And together with a good partnership with SES, we are developing the use of this satellite. And also through a common, let's say, marketing company, which could be called Halawi, the Yahsat and the MonacoSat capacities are also under development together. Next, please. So as I just mentioned, from Monaco origin TV channels, we just started Super Yacht TV, and there will be Environment TV, some luxury property TVs, and some other channels. We are just giving some opportunities to the other Monaco companies to develop such TV channels from Monaco. Next, please. As I just mentioned, for the Inmarsat, we just furnished a full KA capability of the Monaco exploration yachting, and it was used for the exploration of the maritime and the oceans. Next, please. Axiom. When we have some, actually last year, we have made a conferences, serious conferences to announce and also to attend some NASA 16th year of NASA in Monaco, so with some conference occasions. At that time, we met with the Axiom astronauts, which Michael Suffredini and all the other big astronauts, I could say, that they develop a new company called Axiom in US. And, you know, the space station, International Space Station lifetime will be end around 2028 or even earlier. So this Axiom company will put new modules to the existing one. And then after it was over, then they will continue for the space tourism, new astronauts, and even to give the international services. So there will be one module also there, habitation module, and so mainly for the space tourists with a very top design, let me say. So by knowing Monaco as one of the center also for tourism, we said, why not? This habitation module could be a Monaco module. I mean, habitation Monaco module, Hotel de Paris in space or something. So that's why we are developing together with Axiom this module. This is one of the new projects that we are involved. Next, please. But as you know, when you start the satellite business, especially satellite operations, you cannot stop with one satellite. So now we are developing the new satellite, as you just mentioned, MonacoSat 2. It will be a fully software-defined satellite. I think towards the end of the year, we may finalize this project and to announce or to start the manufacturer. To announce the manufacturer. So this satellite will be fully dynamic configuration, reconfiguration, KA type of satellites that Cenk Bey just was mentioning, which was, I think this is the future. And this type of satellites, which will bring down the cost of megabits very drastically. So it may help for the digital divide. But I just want to add one word to the Cenk Bey. What he said is very important. We, as the small satellite operator or some big regional operators like TÜRKSAT, Yahsat, and the others, I think we should come together, cooperate together. And why not to give, instead of on our regions, to give the regional services, but why not to the global service with a good cooperation with the other satellite operators. So I hope this webinar or this conference may lead to such a union or such cooperation. Next, please. And thank you very much, Aarti.
Thank you, Ilhami Bey. That was very interesting to learn how a small operator like you has now positioned yourself to actually support the next generation International Space Station, if you will. We'll come back to you again in the discussion. Thank you. Summer, I'd like to come to you. Now, Intelsat, of course, has been making plenty of headlines in recent months. You are front and center in the US C-band spectrum debate. You've launched a new satellite this summer with plans to add several more assets to your fleet in the coming years. And this morning, I read about your major new investment in Gogo. So how is Intelsat's business faring? It certainly doesn't sound like you're in any kind of defensive posture at all.
Not at all. So first of all, it's really nice seeing you again, Aarti. It's been a long time, and nice seeing you, Cenk and Ali. It's been a long time as well. COVID kept us all, at home. And look, I think everyone is feeling the impact of this epidemic. But we actually have been on the offensive, Aarti. Look, first of all, I think the Intelsat business is quite diversified, which helped us quite a bit. We have 4 major business lines. We work in media, which aside from the live sports impact, which is now coming back, has been growing in a way that there's more content that is required right now to be consumed when you're at home, working from home, or even for people who are stuck at home. On the network side, and that's the business that we do with the mobile operators. Again, being stuck at home has required a lot more backhaul traffic to be running through satellite in a lot of the rural areas and remote areas, and this is mobile traffic that has now increasing. For example, we see that in Japan. We have a customer, a major MNO customer, whose traffic between February and May has increased by 100%. So it's an incredible growth opportunity. We have a government business as well, where we are the leading provider for the U.S. Department of Defense. And on the mobility side, this is where a lot of the impact was felt, probably mostly in the commercial aviation and in the cruise market. But just as you stated a bit earlier, we went on the offensive on the commercial aviation. We yesterday night, we announced the acquisition of the commercial aviation part of Gogo. And Gogo is the #1 service provider in in-flight connectivity. Gogo is a full end-to-end company that does service provisioning, ISP services, hardware and terminal management, software management. And it's basically a company that exists in a layer that is a service provision layer that has not been very profitable. And what we're looking to do is to redefine the future of the in-flight connectivity market with this acquisition, because we're bringing into this equation. Basically, we're bringing in 51 satellites of capacity today, and plans for many more in the future. We're already planning, and we'll be announcing soon, our next generation software-defined satellite fleet that, combined with the capabilities of a company like Gogo, will allow us to offer to the airlines quality that has never been offered before, living room type quality, with service level agreements to the device in the airplane, and also at owner economics. So, this is something that was missing. At the service provision layers, there was no owner economics. We'll bring the owner economics into the model that allows then the airlines to monetize the services in multiple different ways, from free Wi-Fi to freemium models to advertising sponsored. But they will have a lot more flexibility, which hopefully will grow the market altogether. So this has been an incredible acquisition that we have done. We've done it while we are in financial restructuring. I think that the number of times a company in financial restructuring acquires the number one provider in any sector, that has never happened before. So this is the first time in the history of the world that this happens, but it shows really the resiliency of the business, and the belief of the different stakeholders in the capabilities that we can bring into an acquisition like this. And I want to add a little bit on the 5G element, because we're all working to integrate satellite and terrestrial together. And for the first time right now, the release 17 of the 3GPP framework is allowing a seamless integration of satellite into the picture. That we're creating those standards together with the terrestrial world, and we're going to be integrating one into the future. So I'll pause at that point, and I'll let you ask your questions.
I feel like all of you have seen my follow-up questions, because you keep preempting them. But I'm going to stay with you for a second, Summer. Clearly, you have faith in the aviation business picking up again. I mean, Gogo has considerable scale compared with its competitors. In the present circumstances, is it possible to say anything about the time frame across which you anticipate the investment bearing fruit, or not?
Yeah. So look, I think this acquisition is based on a number of factors. First of all, we understand the environment that we're in, and just like any other crisis before, there were many crises before that have impacted the commercial aviation market dramatically. And our plans and the way we have anticipated for this, we have not forecasted a return to normality, to 2019 normality, until 2023. So we've given enough room for us to return to normal. But we really expect that this IFC sector to really pick up. We think it's going to grow by double digits in the next few years. And then what we really see is that the model is going to change. First of all, there will be a lot more line fit opportunities. So the planes will come pre-configured with the IFC terminals from the OEMs. So that will help quite a bit. Then we expect that the take rate within the airplane, so the number of passengers that will actually connect to the internet, will increase dramatically. Today, it's still in very low numbers. It's still in the single digits. We expect this to become 80%, at some point soon. Of course, you're deterred as a passenger from connecting to the internet when it's $40 for the flight. But when it's much less than this, and when there's a free Wi-Fi opportunity for some services and freemium models, that will change the equation. The take rates will go up, and the revenues, of course, will go up. But because of the volumes, the volumes that will be generated will be much higher. So, we've given ourselves enough room to go back to normality, but we expect this to pick up quite dramatically.
Great, thank you. Okay, now I'd like to launch into a panel discussion with you all. We have talked about digital divide. That is, for a long time, satellites have been talking about this, but we were going out of fashion because the world was running away with 5G and the data-centric future and all of this. But now, with COVID, it has become I don't want to say fashionable because that trivializes something which is fundamentally important, but there are a lot more voices alongside the satellite industry which are now calling for bridging the digital divide. Now, on the inside, we can see so much innovation in our sector. We always talk about the cost per bit coming down and that making satellite a much more interesting proposition. But on the outside, we are still criticized for being very expensive. And I know there are examples, Summer, you mentioned SoftBank in Japan, SES saw uptake in Alaska. So where you have MNOs who already rely on satellite backhaul, yes, we have seen pickup on that. But we need more MNOs to be using satellite, but they don't. I would be very interested in hearing your corporate perspectives on what needs to happen to allow satellite to make its rightful contribution. I mean, within ESOA, obviously, we do a lot of advocacy around this on the policy front, on the regulatory front. But what do you think from a corporate perspective? Can I just ask you to raise your hand so that you don't all speak at once, and then go for it, Summer. And then Cenk.
I can offer a quick perspective. Look, I think it's how you design the business model, okay, and how you allocate capacity that has a low cost per bit to different regions. We have models that range from supporting 2G deployment to 5G deployment. You know, and for the 2G deployment, for example, we have partnership with a company called AMN that goes into Africa and is able to build complete base stations for very, very cheap. It takes them less than a day to put up the base station that is connected by satellite. And basically what they do is also they subsidize phones to the local community or the village. I'm talking about very, very cheap phones, you know, and for people who do just basic voice connectivity. But we are seeing that this model is creating a pickup in traffic, and that incentivizes the MNOs to provide their license. So they go, AMN goes into partnership with the MNOs, uses their license to operate in those communities. On the other hand, you know, you have the 4G deployment, you know, where you need a lot of data. And as long as the economics are right and the business model is right, you know, this is very doable.
Great, thank you. Cenk? You're on mute, Cenk. Could you unmute?
I'm totally agree with this, Summer, and I would like to add some additional point of my view, especially the condition and the technology forces MNO to work with the satellite operators, because we have started to propose them really cost-effective solutions to them, especially instead of the radio link transferring data by the radio link hops. We propose them to much more better conditions to carry huge amount of data from one hop, one base station to another station. So also 5G has its own specialties like layers. So the number of the devices which is included the broadcast domain will be really very much high. So because of 5G characteristics, some layers will be very much suitable with the satellite, especially the ultra high throughput satellites capability and capacity. So that's why because of the resiliency requirement of the 5G and the quality requirement of the 5G, there will be use cases which is very much suitable for the very much cost effective for the satellite's capability. So that's why in the very near future, in Turkey we have already started to work on them because of the IoT capabilities and IoT requirements of the infrastructure. Satellites will be working with MNO together, the mobile network operators together in many different areas, and not by means of LEO, by means of also GEO. We are going to present them really resilient the backhauls to MNOs.
Thank you. Thanks, Cenk. Does anybody else want to come in on that question? Sure, Paolo.
Yeah, I think I echo what it was said. Still to tackle is the fact that the satellite equipment on the ground is still quite expensive, and it hasn't had, in my mind, the evolution in costs that I would say the service space segment had, the satellite itself had. So if ever I can see the problems in say increasing the MNOs, as you say, that the investment on electronics on the ground and facilities, terminals, hubs, and so forth is still quite substantial and expensive, and indeed it can represent in the business model a problematic component.
Yeah, you make a good point. We are not friends of standardization generally, but we're going to come back to that issue in a second. Ilhami Bey or Ali, do you want to jump in on this question as well?
So as sorry, Ali Bey, we are here. I think all geo operators. Just SES a bit early entered to MEO and to give this high-speed internet to the ground with the low latency. But as just our friend Intelsat said somewhere, that with the new type of satellites, I think the cost for megabit per megabit will go down drastically. So and also, as the Paolo said, if the ground operators or the ground segment, let's say the ground user equipment becomes some affordable almost everywhere to the end customers, I think this new type with the new type of satellites, the digital divide and serving to 5G will be the future of all of us as an operator, because today I think the internet connection is like the water, like the electricity is a utility. So even fixed house, forget the mobile things. The first thing when you move to a house or something, after water and electricity, you look for the internet. And now and more is the high-speed internet. So I think with this new type of satellites, we can reduce or move for the digital divide to reduce the digital divide, especially in Africa, in some remote regions, drastically. But also, we had some good news from Thuraya friends that the mobile operators, let's say the mobile GSM operators, but the mobile use of the satellites will be also, I should say, cheaper, and with the more data capabilities, I think it will also change the world and our industry.
Thank you. Ali.
Well, so during our refreshment of Thuraya, we literally met with every segment in the market, and my realization was into two factors. The first segment, let's say the government wanted all the complexity to be with Thuraya. That means all the complexity to be with the satellite and in the ground segment, and the service, such as this simple, beautiful phone, the smartphone that we have. The smart satellite phone that we have is simple and easy to use. Then comes the price. But when it comes to the commercial market, especially the Asian market, price was very, very important. And we launched two programs today actually to achieve these very cheap prices. But it's very tough. It's very tough. We saw a 200 break mark for achieving a phone price will be very important to us, and for achieving a $400 price for an IP product will be great achievement for us. We are studying these two efforts very importantly because apparently for a device, the price is very important. That being said, having a satellite that will take more subscriber in the future, capable to take 3 times the subscriber that we are able to take now, the price per, holistically speaking, or on the wholesale level, the price will be cheaper in the future. So yes, I'm in agreement with everybody, but again, I believe, I have a certain belief, especially with the mobile satellite services, that the end user wants, at the end of the day, a service. We call it whatever we call it, but if he can get a video, or if he can get the service that he needs, or the search that he needs, or the rescue he needs at the last minute, and achieving his mission is more important than forcing ourselves to be a 5G or the, let's say, the latest fashionable words that we use in the industry.
Exactly. So I want to share with you some of my experience here at ESOA in our advocacy, that we have been heavily lobbying and doing advocacy in the last couple of months because there are many actions and initiatives coming out with a focus on the digital divide. The most important message that I see that we need to pass right now is, there's 2 of them actually. The first one is that connectivity for all has got to be prioritized by governments and regulators. Right now, it's just an enabler, so other things are the priority, and connectivity is somehow just a second. So I think we've seen now that connectivity for all has to be a #1 priority. But secondly, you know, it's very easy for us to assume that everybody needs this level of internet connection, whatever you have today. I mean, in my office, I have 100 megabit per second or even higher sometimes. And everything works. So it's easy for developed countries, developed regulators to assume this is what we need to bring. And Summer, you made the point that we are enabling 2G in some countries, and that is genuinely where you are still seeing growth because it's affordable. The smartphones are much lower cost point. But the assumption from the policymaker side is, no, why would we ever roll out 2G? That's not what we should be pushing. So we are also trying to get regulators and policymakers to understand that they must avoid prescribing artificial speed and latency requirements in their new connectivity plans, because they risk excluding satellite without realizing the fact that we can connect people in a matter of weeks and months. So I just wanted to share that with you, because I'm not sure how many of you actually do advocacy like we do, but it takes both sides to make it happen. So I want to move now to broadcasting, the future of broadcasting. On the one hand, we have considered this market as shrinking as OTT, IPTV, etc. are growing. Yet in parts of Asia, it is still a growing market because the socioeconomic development is happening there. So my question to you is, to what extent is it sustainable for satellite operators to continue to rely on traditional markets like broadcasting? Or should we really all be shifting more towards data, given the global digitalization that's going on? I want to start that question with Paolo, ABS.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I think it's a good assessment. The market is shrinking, especially I think in the DTH domain. But having said that, there are geographies that have different patterns, different evolutions, dictated by the socioeconomic situations, the infrastructure situation, etc. We are particularly focused on broadcasting over the Russian market. We carry a big chunk of television operators, cable operators, head ends, the Russian Federation. We also host a DTH provider on our capacity fast, and we've seen actually growing despite the fact that the landscape in Russia has been, I would say, difficult over the past couple of years, both in the economic situations that have not been particularly favorable. But on a global scale, I think there's no doubt that it is a diminishing market, but at the same time, I think satellite can find other applications within the broadcast sector that can support, for example, as far as we're concerned, a lot of distribution services in Europe. The sporting is huge. There's more and more productions. There's more and more tendency to do remote production, which implies to more connectivity from venues, from the event where the video is taken. There is future as well. I think you have to adapt to market conditions and embrace, I would say, the right partners, technologies that emerge and adapt and optimize. I would say, offer and optimize the solution for customers.
Thanks, Paolo. Who wants to go next?
I think.
Cenk?
Cenk Bey, please.
You're on mute, Cenk. We can't hear you.
Ilhami can go there. Please, Ilhami.
So, thank you. No, as our friends just said, I think this broadcasting will not, DTH type of broadcasting will not stop immediately. And in some part of the world, still in Africa or Asia or Central Asia, still people will go with the DTH type of transmission. But I think, again, I totally support what Paolo said, is more and more the people will go to the IPTV or the OTT type of, especially IPTV type of reception, which is more easy wherever you can provide the internet, even with the 4G, 5G, the mobile systems. You can provide internet. More and more, maybe our broadcast satellites will be used for the feed and for connectivity for the programs or the new productions or something. But distribution towards the end customers, I think, will be more and more with the internet, IPTV type of system. So I think it will go hand to hand. I mean, all the broadcast DTH satellites, but more and more we will move to the data type of HTS satellites. Cenk Bey, please.
Okay. I'm totally agree with Paolo and Mr. Ilhami, but I think as you said, the broadcast domain, still there's a huge market in broadcast domain. If you look at the Euroconsult's report, that you can easily see that the Africa and the South America still proposes really huge opportunities. If you look at the global operators, they are still investing for the broadcasting for that areas. So in fact, broadcasting will change its nature. It will be staying there, but its nature will be a little bit different from then on, because even terrestrial guys has some technical limitations. So when we talk about latency for the satellites, after 150 kilometers long fiber cable, we are still talking about latency too. So that's why now people are working on the cloud, edge cloud architecture. So instead of moving people from somewhere to somewhere, we as a human being prefer to move data from somewhere to somewhere, no matter where to where or for what purposes. But this data, this huge amount of data, should be moved from one point to another. So since we are going to have some interactive abilities even in our broadcast domain, so that's why that much of data should be moved from somewhere to somewhere, because as I said before, since we are going to have layers of, especially after having the 5G capabilities, some layers will be low priority. So, but that huge amount of data should be carried by very little cost. So that's why the satellites will have that opportunity to carry these amount of from resource to the edge clouds. So also, if you look at the satellite operators, IP-based communication or IP-based multicasting is included in our satellites capability too. So that's why there will be some time to maybe satellites will be using to update IoT's operating system. I mean, when you say broadcast, I'm not mentioning the television shows. When you say broadcast, I may mention to the IoTs, the operating systems. So that's why I pronounce that the broadcast manner will be changing in the very near future. So the most important thing is to define the customer's requirements and tailor our capabilities. In case of loss of our capabilities to cover our customers' requirements, we should focus on, especially in the technical manner, to cover that, because that requirement, that demand will be there. Since we are going to have, and since we can estimate that in the very near future we are going to have exponentially high data, that data should be transferred from one to there. Then especially the restrictions of the line of sight communication, satellite will keep their importance in the near future too.
Thanks, Jen. I mean, I think we need to be mindful of the fact that video is still going to remain a major part of the traffic, even in the 5G era. And of course, you're right with broadcast. It's not just about video traffic. It's also about software, firmware updates. It's about transmitting data from one place to the next. But Summer and Ali, I'd like to bring you in when it comes to TV broadcasting, because not every operator has the resources to be able to innovate and just embrace the transition to the 5G data world. So what do you think about this? Do you think we're going to see our market really being squeezed? Do you think operators who are relying on these traditional markets will vanish over due time? What do you think? Who wants to go first?
I think
go for it.
Look, I think if you look at the broadcasters today, they generate a lot of money, and a lot of that money is generated from the linear distribution, not from the over-the-top platforms. Although their subscribers on over-the-top are increasing dramatically, they still the overwhelming majority of their money is generated by the linear applications, and we see that in the U.S. where we have set to groom some parts of the C-band spectrum for 5G. We see that there's a bit of an anxiety with the broadcaster community, because they want to make sure that they have enough spectrum to cover their services for a very long time into the future. So as long as the operators are able to move, like Cenk said, traffic from one location to another at any point, and in a quality that is really acceptable. And I think the satellite quality is in many cases better than the terrestrial quality. This event in particular, we have latency right now, and this is not going through satellite, I bet you. If it was going through satellite, we probably have less latency, not more. But there's going to be a more move towards high definition and 4K. So there's an increased demand, of course, that is offset by more compression on the other side. But again, you touched on emerging markets that require more DTH capabilities that are really only served by satellite. So I see that there is a little bit of erosion into that market, but not to the tune of or the alarm bells that people have been sounding for a while.
Great, thank you. Ali, I know you're here as Thuraya, but Yahsat has got an important broadcasting business, so I would like to hear your perspective as well.
Well, I think coming from the region, broadcasting will stay very important, especially in our top markets, which is from the Central Asia, I can say. It will still be very important. I don't see that it's going out of fashion soon. But even when it comes to Thuraya, there is a broadcasting services when it comes to mobile solutions, which we can utilize the L-band for it. And there are some discussions that we had with many customers regarding these type of services. So yes, there is a market demand when it comes to these type of services, but the challenge is big. And also, what just my colleague said, that maybe we will see in the future broadcasting services to program an IoT to do something in bigger scale. I can see this is happening in the future. So I am simply in agreement with my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. So, look, this conversation wouldn't be complete without talking about 5G and standardization. So my last question in our last 15 minutes is going to come to that. ESOA is the global satellite industries market representation partner in 3GPP. And important steps are being taken, as Samar mentioned, within 3GPP to work on the real integration of satellite with terrestrial networks, specifically NB-IoT and new radio to support satellite. We also hear a lot about the importance of Open RAN for the converged future. But at the same time, existing satellite capabilities have a huge role to play. How important is it, in your view, for satellite operators to embrace open systems, given the proprietary world that we are so used to? And do you think our industry is capable of coming together to make that move? Who would like to take that one on? I'll pick someone if you don't volunteer.
I can take it on. Well, we had the discussions with some SPs that they regarded an open system where I don't know if I'm talking about the right subject, but where we have an open system where they come and they develop their own solution. But the question that comes into my mind, at what standardization and what benefit and what cost? It is, for me, this is a very, very, very new subject, and it can bring a revolution to the satellite industry. We saw that in the software world, like in the Red Hat and the Android, which is open system by the end of the day. But when it comes to satellite, it really need a in-depth study. But again, it can bring revolution to the industry. And it will be amazing if we have an open system that we can monetize on, and everybody develops his own solution, and somehow we can monetize from Thuraya or on any open system source can monetize from making up these devices.
Thanks, Ali.
Aarti, let me say something about this. And I mean, the conditions will force us to come together, because, you know, if you can propose a cost-effective solution to your customers, then you will be chosen. Otherwise, you will not be chosen. That's why we are aware of that. And if you look at the world nowadays, most of the industries has forced themselves to go software-defined solution. And if you look at that, we are talking about software-defined networks. And so the virtualization will be coming with the Industry 4.0. So with this kind of capabilities, I mean the virtualization, software-defined networks, no matter who provides that capability to whom. That's why when we have that capability, the software-defined solution will bring standardization together. Also, in order to have the good prices, we come together in order to decrease the cost of the giving services. So the real key issue is to come together and increase the supply amount and decrease the cost per unit. So people, and like my company, we have been negotiating with many the multinational companies to come together and to propose the customized solution to my customers. So this kind of collaborations forces us to sit down on the same table and to create a common understanding and to create a common way of doing things and to create a new standard, even be multi-site. So that's why, especially, I would like the emphasis that software-defined solutions will propose us to standardize our solutions, which improve our collaborations with the other regional satellite operators. So it will create a really technological, qualified, and cost-effective solutions, which ensure us the sustainability of our companies.
Thank you.
I think, I can just
this industry.
Please.
Sorry, what I was saying is, I think our industry has suffered for a long time from lack of being able to scale, and that's because everyone is doing their own thing, and everyone wants to have their shiny new toy and only unique to them. And as Cenk Bey said, look, this is on the satellite side where it's now starting to get resolved with the software-defined satellites, which by the way will take manufacturing down from 36 months to 18 months, and will make a lot of the stuff in the satellite very standard. But that's not enough. We need to take that a step further. So on the ground side, we've been trying to lead an effort with multiple FSS operators that's come together and exert some pressure on the platform guys so that they can create a standard or a universal modem capability. The problem today is when you talk to them, say we want a universal modem, say yeah, it's great, use our technology, but it doesn't really work. We have to have a platform where the customer can pick any modem that they want. It's a card inside the a bigger box, or it is a software defined, or whatever it is, because we have to compete on service, not anymore on creating this customized infrastructure. Otherwise, we will never catch up with the terrestrial world. It's miles ahead of us.
Thanks, Summer. Ilhami Bey.
So I just want to add, so of course our friends are all touched to the correct thing, is the standardization. I mean, with the new software-defined satellites and the future of this data actions, data provisions. But as Samir said, the ground side standardization is one thing, but also on the satellite and the services, but to come together to give different type of services from different satellites, but also from different operators, via different operators. So I think to do all these things together, or bringing these operators together, even the manufacturers, we need a platform. By at the beginning of the ESOA, in the creation of ESOA, I was there. I think why not this platform be ESOA? Aarti, maybe it will be some extra work for you, but why not we come together under ESOA and try to at least put all our standards on the table to have one single standards that we all continue to use it.
I would welcome that. The difficulty I have is that not everybody does what I say. So, but
we will support you. We will support you.
Yeah, Paolo, do you want to add this?
Yeah, I think. Well, I think Summer said it all. I think, and he echoed what I said even earlier. By indicating that one of the hindering factors in our industry has been inevitably the ground segment, the lack of standardization, the costs, the lack of evolution even in costs over time. Because if I look at how much a modem was costing 10 years ago versus what it costs today, I don't think the difference is so stunning compared to when you look at a megahertz or actually megabits even over satellite 10 years ago and today. So the evolution, I mean, that area requires no question a substantial intervention, and as Summer said, maybe even the satellite operators together as a community, as an industry, to exert the pressure to the manufacturers to ensure that the future for them and for us, I mean, ultimately depends on getting into a process of standardization in a common effort, obviously. But I think that is going to be fundamental if you want to be playing an active role and a meaningful role in the 5G world. That is going to be a necessary development.
Thanks, Paolo. I find it encouraging to hear what you're all saying. It's not easy to get satellite operators aligned around these kind of issues, which imply such a drastic change from what you're doing today to where we want to be. But the mobile industry did it. We probably need to too. Now, I said that was the last question. I kind of lied. We have a couple of minutes left, and I would like to ask you to look in your crystal balls. I think we were all around in 97, 98 in this industry when the first attempts at LEO broadband were made. They tried, they failed. They're trying again. And I think the last time some of us met was in DC in March. And I don't know if you heard Elon Musk giving his speech in DC. When he was asked, what is your objective with Starlink? He gave quite an enlightening answer, actually. He said, I was surprised by it, he said, not bankrupt. So if Elon Musk is saying his objective is not bankrupt, for me, the jury is out. Will this happen or will it not happen? Terrestrials are waiting for it to happen. Look in your crystal balls, forget any vested interests, give me your personal view, and we're going to close on that. Cenk, do you think LEO broadband will become a reality, yes or no, and why?
I mean, this is a really good question. I have two questions in my mind for the LEO side.
5 minutes. I'm sorry, we have 5 minutes. You have to take 1 minute each.
Just if they can, because nowadays the solutions, one side, if you look at today's solutions, one side is moving like like the customers, and the other side of the communication is not moving. In the LEO side, two sides of the destination resources are moving. So the first problem, first of all, they have to solve that. Second one is the interference. They hadn't given any reasonable answer to us as a geo guys to how they are going to solve the interference problems with the geo guys. So if they can solve these two problems, I believe in that they are going to be successful. The third one is the distribution of the people are not heterogeneous in the world. And if you look at the world, the 70% of the world is the sea. So how they are going to manage the distribution or their LEO's power when they providing that solution? These three questions in my mind. If they can solve these problems, they will be successful. I wish they be successful.
Thank you. Ali.
Well, I think they will be successful when it comes to data trunking or B2B, let's say, to the offering alternatives to the fiber industry, because again, I believe in this industry, if you don't push the complexity to the end user, you are still fine. So the complexity will be with the mobile operators, the terrestrial mobile operators, and that will be fine. But again, the moment they can come with a device like that, that will be the destruction of all of us, as simple as that. If they can come with the small devices, if they find a way to come, I will really, really get worried by them. But again, the satellite is simple, the ground segment is simple. If they're gonna build a terminal to the end user, it is gonna be complex. Complexity has to be somewhere. So again, I think they will win when it comes to data trunking, to backhauling, to heavy application where you don't push the complexity to the end user.
Brilliant. Summer?
Well, look, just think about whether they're going to happen or not. You know, one of them or two of them maybe will come to life, but whether they're going to be bankrupt or not, think about it this way. The satellite services industry today is about $6 billion in total. They're putting investments of $10 to $20 billion in order for them to be financially sustainable. That means the satellite market needs to triple, needs to be anywhere between 18 and $20 billion. I think that's a tall order for the market to move to that level.
Great perspective. Thank you, Summer. Ilhami Bey.
I will be short. I think for certain applications, yes, it can be successful, but mainly for the global government and military applications, maybe data tracking, B2B, but more they are thinking about the mobile cars, connected cars. Will it be feasible? I don't think so. With the 5G, with the Thuraya is coming with such a small mobile telephone, which is connected everywhere. So to whom they will serve these services? And with such a big, huge investment. So for me, bankruptcy is still 50-50.
Okay, thank you. Paolo.
Yeah, I have a similar feeling about it. I think the two constellations of the one of Elon Musk, the one of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, they seem to be billionaires' dreams and perhaps a little bit of I would say a caprice, as we say, but not necessarily economically sound. They can afford it to do it. Maybe they will get overall the operational constraints and challenges that they have, because nobody has yet cleared how they're going to operate those thousands of facilities flying in the air at those speeds and at those heights. So no, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. I think maybe, as it was said, that maybe one or two will see the light. Whether economically will be sound, or whether operationally will be sound, I still have a lot of doubts.
Okay, I wish we could continue. We're out of time. We can't. Cenk, Ali, Paolo, Ilhami, Summer, thank you all for participating. The future is bright. Whether it's for LEO broadband or not, it certainly is bright for satellite. The world needs us, and it needs also thought leadership provided by our CEOs, and I hope also provided by ESOA. I'm Aarti Holla, Secretary General, and I thank you all for your participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.